At Tradition Field in Port St. Lucie, Florida, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Spring training on SNY is presented by Citi. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. By Cadillac, visit tristatecadillac.com for exceptional offers. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. By Fios by Verizon. Fios is not cable. We're wired differently. Visit getfios.com today. And today is the last day for the Mets in Florida. They'll be heading west tomorrow. Well, the truck's heading north, but the team's heading west. They're going to Las Vegas en route to Kansas City with opening day just 4 days hence. Yes, indeed, the Mets are getting away from Florida. Pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Port St. Lucie. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you today for our final spring training broadcast as the Mets take on the Washington Nationals. Spring training almost over. Mets have not done well in terms of wins and losses, but they've done what they've had to do to get ready for the season. So the question is, as we've gone through this spring training, nearly 30 games, what has impressed you most from the pitching side? Well,
I think one of the great parts of my job is that the spring training, how guys improve. Last year, Noah Syndergaard, when you saw him in spring training, you said to yourself, boy, he has a lot of work to do. This spring training, just a completely different feeling. He has all of his pitches working. Dare I say, he looks even better than he did in his rookie year when he won 9 games. I think a lot of it had to do with his postseason prowess. But Noah Syndergaard, of all the young, great starting pitchers the Mets had, I think, had the best spring.
And Noah will be on the mound today in relief after Matt Harvey gets the start. What about from the hitting side? The Mets haven't hit a lot this spring, but what's impressed you there?
Well, what's impressed me the most is Matt Reynolds, the young shortstop that was really was going into spring training going to fight it out with Ruben Tejada. Well, Tejada was released and opened the door for Matt Reynolds. What I like about Matt Reynolds, Gary, is that, number one, he's made all the plays in the field. He's shown a very strong arm in the hole, been very solid defensively. I like his energy. He's got a little life to his step. And I think this is what the club needs when you're a backup player. There's more that you can give a ball club than just your playing time on the field. I really liked his spring.
And there's every chance that Matt Reynolds will be on the Mets opening day roster when they begin the season in Kansas City on Sunday night. Mets say goodbye to Port St. Lucie for another year. First, they'll take on the Nationals. All the action coming your way on SNY. York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Ford. For great deals on Ford cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers, visit tristateford.com. By W.B. Mason, the official office supply company of the New York Mets. Who but W.B. Mason? By Los Angeles Tourism. Discover Los Angeles. And by Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets.
I was just in L.A.
Get to Citi Field Saturday night, April 9th, when the Mets take on the Phillies for the first fireworks night of 2016, presented by Coca-Cola. After the game, fans can enjoy an exciting fireworks show that will light up the sky. For tickets, visit Mets.com/fireworks. Speaking of fireworks, around the majors presented by Citi. Drew Storen will not be the closer in Toronto after being traded from the Nationals. Roberto Ozuna won that job. David Price, I don't think that was ever in doubt, will be the Red Sox opening day starter. And the former Met first-round draft pick, Philip Humber, he of the perfect game, announced his retirement. Matt Harvey set to go, just one day late. Was there any drama involved in that?
A little bit. I want to go to L.A.
And during this event, you can get a great deal on this.
Well, 4 days before he makes his opening day start in Kansas City. Matt Harvey's scheduled to throw at least a couple of innings today at the front end of the Mets' final Florida game of the spring. Does this mean it's closing day in the Grapefruit League? Your Toyota starting lineup for the Nationals, and this is pretty much their opening day lineup with the exception of the pitcher. Max Scherzer was going to pitch today, but he's going to work a minor league game instead back in Nationals camp. And Trevor Gott, a reliever, will get the start against Harvey.
13 wins last year and a great season coming off that elbow Tommy John surgery for Matt Harvey. Looks to build on that. He had a tough outing against the Astros here the last time he took the mound, so needs 3 or 4 good sharp innings.
Ben Revere, the new leadoff hitter for the Nationals, will lead things off. In fact, it's been back-to-back poor starts for Matt.
Yeah.
He had a minor league start before he faced the Astros, where he got knocked around a little bit.
He has not had a good spring, but you know what? Come April, switch it in gear. Spring is forgotten.
Well, but this is a good test right here, because this is the big league lineup that the Nationals are featuring here today.
It's a little chillier here today, folks, up there. It's only 77 degrees.
Wind blowing in from right field today. Revere, acquired from Toronto in the offseason, takes the first pitch for a strike, and we're underway. 96 on that first fastball from Harvey. Revere, Rendon, and Harper. Corners in against Revere, who hit .306 last year for the Phillies and the Blue Jays. And he takes on the inside corner strike, and it's 0-2.
Home plate umpire will always remember forever Gary Cederstrom behind the plate when Johan Santana threw his no-hitter.
3 pitches, 3 called strikes, and Revere sits down. Took the fastball on the inside corner, 1 out.
Well, I was looking for the curveball. He's only 3 heaters. It's like, go grab some pine. Inside gasoline.
And that's a guy that, through his career, very rarely strikes out.
So 1 out now, Anthony Rendon. The Nationals won 83 games last year, underperformed mightily what was expected of them. And one of the reasons was that they had so many players miss large chunks of time because of injury, and Rendon was one of those. Had a late start to his season because of knee problems.
He had various little injuries after that also. Remember, 2 years ago, this kid started to make his mark. You could make the argument that he was one of the MVPs of the National League 2 years ago. I think he finished 5th in the voting.
But when you think about Rendon and Worth and Zimmerman and Span, I mean, they all missed large chunks of time last year. Toward the middle of the diamond, and Rendon has the first hit of the day.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metsy defense. Oh, there's your starting outfield right there. Conforto in left. Cespedes, Granderson. And that's going to be the infield going north. Cabrera back in the line. Second start since the injury. Darno behind the plate to cut the big boys in there.
Well, here is Bryce Harper, who had a season for the ages last year. The youngest player ever to be a unanimous MVP pick, and still only 23 years old. Led the league in on-base percentage, led the league in slugging percentage, hit 42 home runs.
Give me that on-base percentage, because I love that.
460.
That's pretty impressive.
Slugging percentage, 649. I mean, it's not quite Bonzian, but in the post-Bonds National League era, not going to get much better than that.
He's a cut and slasher, I'll tell you that.
Mets kind of handled him a little bit last year. They got the hard throwers that beat him a lot upstairs and away, if you recall.
He got better as the season went on, though, against Mets pitching. But you're right, Keith, that opening series.
But if you contrasted Harper last year versus Harper, say, the year before, what do you see different? Why was he so much more successful last year?
I think another year of experience. And I'm not crazy about his swing. I mean, he's got a very, I think, an unorthodox swing. But it works for him. And I just think he's getting better and better because you learn pitching. I mean, Lou Brock told me it's going to get easier for you, Keith, because you will get to know the pitchers and what they like, how they like to pitch to you. And I think that's what's happening now, is that he's just becoming more experienced, smarter hitter.
Rendon takes off. Darno's throw is wide of the bag, and Rendon, who had only 1 stolen base all of last season, swipes one.
Well, you remember that first game when the Mets played the Nationals, Gary, away up north at their home ballpark. They stole the pants off the Mets that game.
Yeah, Dusty Baker, I think, really wanted to set a tone this year, especially against the team that they'll compete with for the title in the National League East. And they've been very aggressive in these exhibition games against the Mets. And when you have a team that has been fairly successful but underperformed the year before, and you bring in a new manager, especially a guy with Dusty's reputation, you expect to see some changes, right?
Yes.
I think hiring Dusty Baker was the best move they made in the offseason. All four. A proven winner, Dusty Baker. He's had his critics, but you know, everywhere he's gone, he's won.
Gary, what's the stat you gave me? His first year in managing a new club?
This is amazing. If you go back to his first year in San Francisco, his first year with the Cubs, his first year with the Reds, the average gain in wins the first year that Dusty got there, 18. Well, if they win 18 more games than last year, that's 101.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty good season.
You know, you were asking about Bryce Harper as Zimmerman comes up. That was typical of how he's matured. That at bat early in his career, he swings at that pitch and strikes out. Took it for a walk.
Well, his walk rate was way up last year. His extra base hit rate was way up last year. Here's Ryan Zimmerman, who has been worked in slowly this spring, and he lifts one to left field. Back goes Conforto onto the warning track, back near the wall, and it's out of here. Ryan Zimmerman with his third home run of the spring. A 3-run shot off Matt Harvey, and the Nationals jump out to a 3-0 lead.
Well, first pitch fastball, not wasting any time, and the wind is blowing out to left field, but Zimmerman put a healthy cut on this one.
The Nationals have been hitting at a prodigious rate this spring. That's their 31st home run. Compare that with the Mets, who've hit only 12.
Well, the whole question, Ryan Zimmerman is an outstanding ball player. Can he stay on the field? If he does, he will have at-bats like this. He's too good.
Here's Daniel Murphy returning to Port St. Lucie, and he takes a strike.
So the Mets, Neil Walker is in the 5th hole, and Murphy for the Nationals in the 5th hole.
And they're both wearing the same number. They're each number 20. It's kind of eerie, right?
All right.
Well, it's certainly going to be with one of the themes of this season, right? With the Mets and Nats playing 19 games, to see how Murphy fares against his old team and what impact he can have on the Nats trying to overcome the Mets this season.
Who was 20 for the Nats? Was it Desmond's number?
Desmond, yeah.
Okay.
Because Desmond, remember, he used to wear 6, I think, but then he took 20 for Frank Robinson.
That's right.
After Frank left the Nats. Murph, after his Ruthian conquests in October last year, has yet to hit a home run this spring.
I think they're going to change that. It's going to be the Murphian postseason.
Well, I mean, what he did in the postseason was not only unprecedented in terms of, you know, homering in 6 straight games, but the guys that he homered off. Greinke and Arrieta and Kershaw. I mean, it was crazy. One second baseman hits it to the other, and that's the second out. Well, those were the overall numbers last year, followed by incredible feats of strength in the division and league championship series, and then a less than satisfying World Series. So 2 out and nobody on. That Jason Worth, another Nat who missed significant time last year. Worth is now 36 years old, and I think the question is an open one about Jason as to whether he can get back to his previous form. And he hits a long one hopper to right, and David throws on target to end the inning. But another rough beginning for Matt Harvey. Ryan Zimmerman takes him deep, and the Nats lead 3-0. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup this afternoon, and this is probably the exact same starting lineup that Terry Collins will post in Kansas City on opening day Sunday night. Of course, you'll have a DH in there rather than Matt Harvey hitting, so that would be the only change.
Well, every day that I've been down here, there's been a threat of the rain in the afternoons. That's one of the reasons Max Scherzer is not pitching today, so he can get his work done in Vieira. So Trevor Gott gets a start from Lexington, Kentucky, and the University of Kentucky. Pitched 48 games last year for the Angels.
Is there still a Vieira?
Oh, they're going to West Palm next year?
Because they've played their last game there.
Oh.
So, and they broke camp there today, so I guess they still have the minor leaguers left there in their last year in their complex up north.
The locals are invading that place with their brooms and
Trevor Gott on the mound. Gott figures to be an important piece in the Nats revamped bullpen this year.
he's a smallish right-hander, but he's got real good stuff. Last year he really filled a void for the Angels when they lost Houston Street and Joe Smith for some time.
Started out in the Padres organization, traded to the Angels with Houston Street for prospects, and then came to the Nats for Yunel Escobar.
That almost hit the Mets player who was running in from the bullpen and wasn't watching. Lucky.
Always have to watch. Granderson hitting .295 on the spring. The Nats have the shift on against Curtis, and he chops one to the left side. Rendon left alone over there, and he makes a nice play to throw out Granderson for the first out.
Beautiful play. And remember, he's playing third base, and he's not used to this kind of throw away in the hole like that. Very well done.
He's a good athlete. Remember, when he first came up, they asked him, third baseman, to play second base. He filled in. He had a good year, great year at the bat, and then he moved over to third when Zimmerman, who really couldn't throw anymore, was moved to first.
Here's David Wright. David played a full 9 innings yesterday for the first time this spring.
Your guy is back, Keith.
What the heck's going on down there?
Can't be down on enthusiasm, Keith. Got behind on Wright 2-0. Breaks his bat and hits a little pop-up. And Zimmerman misplays it.
Oh, my goodness, that's embarrassing.
I'm not sure what happened to Ryan Zimmerman on that play, but he winds up sprawled.
It's a little wind. Now, Murph, Murph, I got it. You take. No.
He said you got it.
Oh, his feet came out from under him. There you go.
But he misjudged it initially, which is why he had such trouble changing direction.
Well,
that's the luckiest hit David Wright will get this year.
that is a Gold Glover right there, too, making that play. Over at third base, of course. Is that a base hit?
It's nice to see, though, that Murph's in the middle of it in a different uniform.
But he didn't do anything.
I'm just saying. He was there.
It wasn't him.
Can I make a comment here? I've never seen a cheaper hit in my life.
That's what I just said. Cespedes said he takes it high.
Holy. You need this with 2 outs and the bases loaded.
Well, I think this is a Chesapeake Bay favor.
Well, they can. They'll be exchanging pleasantries about that one for a long time to come. And Zimmerman can take solace in the fact that it just doesn't count. Gott's been behind 2-0 on each of the first 3 hitters. Cespedes hitting .357 this spring, still without a home run. I mentioned before that the Nats have now hit 31 home runs this spring. The Mets only 12. And that's kind of reflective of their one-loss records, too. Washington 17-4, the Mets 7-15. And a fastball strike, 2-1.
That should help David's batting average with balls in play.
Very impressive spring training by the Nats.
And is that more meaningful when you have a new manager, or if you're coming off a bad year, than it would be in other circumstances?
Both. This is a new manager that's won, and I think he set the tone there. Dusty has always been a player's manager. He's full of positive waves, and it permeates the clubhouse. He's one of those kind of guys that make people around him better. And this is a team right now that had a bad year, and they're angry, and they're setting the tone. Absolutely, Gary.
2-2 to Cespedes. And he fouls back the fastball.
Keith, did you say Dusty as a player also was like that?
Yep.
Like he made people better around
He was
him.
one of my favorite opponents that I ever. When I came up, he was with the Braves. He hadn't gone to the Dodgers yet. Always made me feel like I was younger than him. He had like around 4 or 5 years younger. So he always made me feel like I was good when I was in my early years struggling. One of those kind of guys.
And Cespedes cracks one to left. Worth will not get back to it, and it's off the base of the wall. Wright will go to third, and Cespedes pulls into second with a well-struck double.
Well, good to see. Final game here, at least. Cespedes turning on that fastball.
Well, the Mets, who had only 2 hits all day yesterday, have 2 hits in the first inning against Trevor Gott. And now Lucas Duda will try and get him in.
Cespedes might be one of the few players in spring training you know he's ready by the sound. You don't need to know the hits, just the sound he makes when he makes contact.
Infield back for Duda, and shifted to the right, and he takes it low. Luke's got a day off yesterday. The entire team is all packed and ready to go to Las Vegas after the game today. That's pulled down the line. Oh, just foul.
Just a little quick on that changeup. Good swing by Lucas.
And we'll take a look at the Ram national defense, and that's going to be their starting outfield. Revere, the newcomer there. Pretty good corner outfield right there. Espinoza now is going to get the shortstop work there. Nice mustache. Looks like Pancho Villa. Wilson Ramos behind the plate.
And the fastball runs inside. I was going to say the entire team is packed and ready to go to Vegas except for one guy. Jacob deGrom is not going to go to Vegas with the team. As you probably know, his wife is expecting any day now, and rather than head 2,500 miles west, he's going to hang around here the next few days just in case, and then join the team in Kansas City unless events transpire that make that impossible. But the plan is for deGrom to pitch the home opener a week from Friday.
And Jacob grew up, what, two hours northwest of here?
Probably a little further north.
Yeah, that's a little further north.
I think. Not too much, but.
Speed pitch is low, and a full count to Duda with Neil Walker on deck.
This is where Lucas, to me, has to show good patience. If you're Trevor Gott with the base open, 1 out, it's going to be a 3-2 changeup. Book it.
But as a pitcher, you got to be careful because Walker has always been a very, very good, tough out and a good clutch hitter. You load the bases with Walker.
And Duda pops it up, not very deep in center. Wright tags at third. Revere doesn't have a great arm, and David's going to try it. Throw from Revere, and David is out. Ramos got a tag on. Home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom waited to see if he held the ball, and he did. So David testing the not very strong arm of Ben Revere, but it was so shallow that Revere was able to throw him out. Ball hit the mound, took 3 hops into the plate, and Ramos able to get the tag on David's arm. That's how the inning ends. Second inning in Port St. Lucie. Wilson Ramos leads off against Matt Harvey, who gave up a 3-run homer to Ryan Zimmerman in the first. Ramos coming off his worst offensive season in the big leagues. Hit just .229. Was able to stay healthy most of the season. That was the good news. The bad news was a .258 on base percentage. And he chops one toward the middle. Run down by Cabrera. Nice play by Asdrubal for the first down. And Cabrera, after sitting out for 2.5 weeks, is moving awfully nicely.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice little barometer right there. That's going to his left and throwing on the run. Very nice play.
He's a good player. I mean, when he came up with the Indians, it looked like he was going to be a great player.
Yeah.
But he is still a very good player, and I think the Mets are going to be really pleased to have him this year.
Yeah, it'll just be health for him, I think.
Here's Danny Espinosa, and he lifts one to left, and Conforto is right there to grab it. 2 out.
We heard some talk that Matt might only throw 2 innings in this game. I personally disagree. I think the start before your big league start should be around 60 pitchers or so.
Well, unless he's warming up somewhere else, Noah Syndergaard is not up in the bullpen, and if this was going to be Matt's last inning, then Noah would be up now.
You know, you want to push it to 60, 65, whatever, because the next 30% will come just from pure adrenaline and pitching in a big league game.
By the way, Trevor Gott has never had a plate appearance in the major leagues or the minor leagues, so this is a new experience for him.
It's against Harvey.
So, Ron, with all the pitch counts now today, and it's not everything as far as preparation, spring training, still the same.
It's still
as far as pitches.
Yeah, I think it's still the same for me. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Because you got to get to. When I was in spring training, you wanted to get to that 90 pitch mark, because that way you could get to 110, 115, 120 if you needed it. These guys, 75, 80, fine.
They're not getting to 115, 120. No. Not in today's game.
And right now, Noah Syndergaard is getting up. And Gott strikes out to end the inning. So you have to think Matt's going to pitch one more. Noah Syndergaard getting ready for his relief assignment today. Seems to me he had a pretty good one in October.
He was pretty good in Los Angeles. Yeah, this will be the next time coming out of the pen.
Meanwhile, still Steve Gelbs is standing by with Keith's pick to click.
That's right, Gary, here with Matt Reynolds, who Keith did single out at the top of the broadcast. Matt Reynolds has a pretty good shot, it seems like, of making the team again this year, or I should say making the team this year. Last year, kind of a very similar spot. Does this feel like the last week of last season for you, where you're kind of in limbo, could be, could not be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last year I was, really unsure of where I was going to end up, and, ended up starting in AAA, but this spring training has been a lot better for me. I felt a lot more comfortable around the guys and everything, and it's gone very smoothly.
Does it feel different knowing that you've been through it already last year? Is there a little bit less anxiety, let's say, as Walker singles through the right side of the infield right there, but is there a little bit less anxiety just because it's not something new now, being in this limbo?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, especially with being called up for playoffs last year, it's just, I can breathe easy around here now. It's not where I'm the new guy and people are trying to figure out who I am and everything. But yeah, I would say I was a lot more comfortable this year.
What have you been working on most this spring?
Everything. I mean, there's just not one thing that I focus on. I mean, obviously hitting and fielding is definitely a big part, but also base running. I mean, you got to focus on everything in spring training and try to improve on every part of your game.
You mentioned hitting and defense, and defensively for you, you made a position switch right when you got drafted, moving from third base to shortstop. Keith mentioned off the top how impressed he was with you playing at shortstop this spring. Does it feel comfortable, like this is now your home? Yeah,
definitely. I've always felt that way ever since I got drafted. I felt like I was a shortstop, and it was just going out there and playing the game and getting more reps and showing people that I could handle the position.
You mentioned last season getting called up, very unique. First major league call-up was in that playoff run, that World Series run. Even though you didn't get in any games, what were you able to take from that experience?
Everything. I mean, just being up there and experiencing those games and the passion and the energy that the fans had and all the players had. I mean, it just makes this year a lot more, I wouldn't say easier, but just I'm a lot more relaxed, and I know what it takes to get up there, and hopefully this year I'll get a chance to play and show what I can do.
Matt, we appreciate the time as always, and good luck. You'll find out here soon enough.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Gary, back to you.
All right, thanks, Steve. And Steve's interview with Matt Reynolds brought to you by Citi. Interesting the difference in the situation for Reynolds this year in spring training. If you remember last year, because the Mets were unsettled at shortstop going into the spring, and he was coming off a great minor league season the year before. There was a lot of attention paid to Matt Reynolds. Less so this year, coming off a not great season last year, and with the Mets having signed Asdrubal Cabrera to be their everyday shortstop.
Well, he impressed me last year, Garrett, also, even coming off the fine season. But he only put 260 something last year in AAA. But I just like his energy. He's got life.
3-2 to Michael Conforto with Walker aboard and nobody out. Walker's on the move, and Conforto gets jammed and fouls it off. A lot of conversation about Conforto and how much playing time he might get against lefties and Lagares and all that. It's not going to be an issue the first week of the season. The Mets are going to see nothing but right-handed pitching. Two righties in Kansas City, and the Phillies have an all right-handed rotation. Walker runs again, and Conforto fouls it off again.
It's interesting to see defensively. They're pulled over in a mini shift in the infield, but straight away in the outfield, and you're going to have to play deep, and Worth is in left field because Conforto has pop that way. He has pop all over the field.
Eighth pitch of the at-bat coming to Conforto. And he pulls one right at Murphy. Chance to turn two. Espinosa with the turn. And a 4-6-3 double play. And with Walker running, that ball was hit so hard, they were still able to turn the double play.
No, that'll be an at-bat in the paper tomorrow on the box score. But this is a rocket. Almost 8 up. Murph. Nice play.
So baseball isn't fair? David Wright gets a base hit on his, and Conforto makes 2 outs with that bullet.
It's all about the BABIP.
Hit them where they ain't.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now is Dribble Cabrera, who has had just 15 official spring training at bats because of the strained tendon in his knee that knocked him out for nearly 3 weeks. Played day before yesterday, 5 innings against the Cardinals. Had multitude of at bats yesterday on the minor league side.
Yeah, what they do on the minor league side is that every time the Mets would hit, he would be in those 3 hitters, either leading off, second or third. So you get an at bat every inning.
Cabrera's now 30 years old, 2-time All-Star. Won a Silver Slugger back in 2011. That signed him to a 2-year deal. And that's too high. And he draws a 2-out walk. First walk given up by Gott, who's given up some hard-hit balls in his 2 innings of work. Nats have Sean Burnett up next in their bullpen. It's going to be a bullpen day for the Nats, with Scherzer left back to pitch in a minor league game. Here's Travis d'Arnaud hitting 8th in the order.
You know, I was watching Dusty Baker. He got off his chair. He went to the end of the bench, spent about 10 minutes talking to the players at the end of his bench about a play that happened in that inning, maybe the double play, and now going back to his seat. One of the, the indications we're talking about, a player's manager loves to communicate.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Matt Williams left his chair very often during his tenure as Nats manager. Of course, it was what happened at the other end of the dugout that probably ultimately cost Matt his job.
That's right.
The
WWE move that we had at the end.
Papelbon Harper confrontation late in the season. You surprised to see Terry hitting d'Arnaud 8th in the order? I mean, if this is what he's chosen for the start of the season.
Well, he loves that righty-lefty thing. Cabrera, of course, switch hitter. You can put him in that 7th spot and d'Arnaud in the 8th spot. The thing about d'Arnaud, he's a pretty good breaking ball hitter, and you're going to see more breaking balls if you're an 8th place hitter in front of the pitcher.
And your lineup has to be etched in stone. d'Arnaud has not had a good spring. He's struggled. So don't think in the back of the mind of Terry, too, they would like to break this losing streak before going out west and get a notch a win here.
Okay, say you're having a bad spring training and your manager puts you 8th. Is that like a little kick in the rear end? Get it going?
Well, no one wants to hit 8th in the order. It's like, that's where you put Art Fern in the order.
What's the lowest you ever batted in the order?
7. So early in my career.
But never 8th.
Well, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Rendon handles the 1-hopper and goes to Murphy for the force play. That retires the side. Mets leave 1 after 2, 3-0 Nats. Join Major League Baseball, new era, and the 30 clubs as we celebrate the start of the baseball season. Make sure to wear your favorite cap on April 4th and share it on social media using #CapsOn for a chance to win prizes.
Ron, you wish to expound on that?
I have no comment today, Keith. Syndergaard's numbers from last year. I mean, you pointed out the other day, and it notes pointing it out again, 31 walks for a 22-year-old pitcher in 150 innings. Just remarkable.
One pitch he made the last time, that last brilliant start that he had, where he went the 6 strong innings. He threw a couple fastballs up in the eyes of the hitters. He got a lot of strikeouts with that breaking ball, hard breaking ball in the dirt, Ronnie, which is great. But he learns to pitch up in the chin, eye level of hitters. He can go up and down the ladder. It's like Nolan Ryan.
Ben Revere leads off and takes the fastball for ball 1. Well, Harvey went 2 innings, gave up 3 runs, 2 hits, a walk, and a strikeout. And so that's, you know, the numbers for Matt certainly were not good this spring. Revere hits one out to left center, which is right where Cespedes is playing. One out. Is there anything to be concerned about with Harvey going into the season off these last 3 performances?
Well, this is the only issue I have. Okay, and listen, they can do whatever they want to do to get Matt prepared and ready. My issue is that if you asked me going into my first start of the season, what did I want to have prepared? I'd want to have my pitch count elevated to 75 or more. I'd also want to be able to be where I'm throwing all 3 or 4 pitches over for strikes. I want that to happen. And I honestly don't put a lot of thought into, you know, getting knocked around a little bit, but I want to be able 2-1 to execute a breaking pitch behind in the count. I want to be able to, a left-handed hitter's up, strike him out or throw a strike inside on a 1-2, 0-2 count. Those are the kind of things that I needed to do to be prepared for the season, because you're called upon to do that once the games start.
Do you think that had he pitched yesterday, he would have gone much deeper into the game than he did today?
I think so, and I also think that you have to give a certain leniency to, you know, what he's gone through and whether they should push him, you know, 2 days after that. You know, the blood clot and the bladder and etc.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that they're not expressing any concern about this, and I don't know whether they even should, but last year Matt threw 216 innings, including the postseason, which was more than any pitcher had ever thrown his first year after Tommy John. So do you think that there's still some caution there about how he's going to respond the next year? You know,
I think that you can, this is my personal feeling, you can put all the thought you want to do into protecting these guys when really most of the thought should be into preparing them to be ready for a big league season. I think it's nice to try to protect pitchers. Very hard to do. I think it's impossible to do.
Well, with all the conversation that was out there last year, it's only natural that the thought has got to be in the back of their minds, whether that's reasonable or not. 3-2 to Rendon, and that's laced into right center field, and Rendon has a base hit. Granderson over to cut it off, and Rendon is 2 for 2.
Nice at bat by Rendon.
He can rake.
I mean, we've said it since he came up, right? When Rendon is a possible batting champion.
I think he, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it now. Freddie Freeman, I thought early in his career, would have a chance. I don't think he has enough protection now, Freddie, to get enough pitches to hit.
It's hard for a right-hand hitter to win a batting championship, but, you know, and Rendon's not going to get a lot of infield hits, and that hurts him. But boy, can he hit. Here's Harper, who hit .330 last year. He only missed a batting title by 3 points.
Well, the best right-handed hitters I ever faced as far as batting average was Hal McRae and Bill Madlock. Just outstanding.
Well, Madlock won how many batting championships?
I don't know, but
you know what was great about Bill Madlock? Played for the Pirates and the Giants and the Cubs. He had those short arms, right? So you couldn't jam them.
2 batting titles.
Was it only 2?
Was it 3?
I don't know.
Giants, he won 1. I know that. The Pirates, he won 1. It may be 3, Gary. I know he won with the Giants.
You win one with the Cubs?
Yes, 3. There you go.
He won 4.
4.
Yeah. 2 with the Cubs and 2 with the Pirates.
So not with the Giants.
No.
That's that two-seam fastball running away from Harper. Good pitch.
Bill Madlock was one of the few rare 3 hitters or right-hand hitters. Tommy Davis was one with the old Dodgers.
Yeah, he had the short arms, Gary, so you could not. The only way to get him out was really to pitch him in because he stood right on the plate, but he had those short arms and you couldn't get in there. It didn't matter what you did. He'd still line it down the third base line.
That's like Molitor.
Yeah,
right.
Same kind of hitter.
1-2 to Harper with Rendon at first and 1 out. That's officially announced yesterday. What we already knew, that Syndergaard is going to pitch the 2nd game of the season, which means he gets the SNY debut on Tuesday afternoon.
Nice. He will get an earful at Kauffman Stadium. It'll be interesting.
That'll be fun for him.
Yes.
I mean, the conversation yesterday I thought was very entertaining. There was a report that the Royals were talking about retaliation for the up and in pitch to Alcides Escobar and Syndergaard's World Series start, and then they all denied it, and then everybody recalled what Syndergaard said after the pitch. If they have any problem, they can meet me 60 feet 6 inches away.
We'll see. That's still there. The mound hasn't changed distance.
American League game, though, he won't be taking an at bat, which changes things.
That's ripped just foul. A wonderful dance step by Ed Hickox to avoid getting drilled.
Also known now as the Matrix.
I mean, that went right by his ear.
Oh, the ball followed him. That's a brushback. Wow.
That thing make a sound when it goes by your ear like that?
Well, it whistles.
It had some exit velocity.
He showed me nothing. He didn't call it foul.
I think he demonstrated rather than indicated. And Harper bounces one to Duda. That's a fair ball. Tag play at second. It skips on by Cabrera, and Rendon heads for third, and he'll make it safely. So it's 3 unassisted on Harper, then an error on Duda, allowing Rendon to go to third.
Nice play by Lucas, getting there. A little bit of an awkward position. Had to throw off balance. It might have been. It's a tough play. Tough play all the way around. He's going to get an error on that. On the advance to third.
This one he won't have to think about for 6 months.
Oh, that's right.
Rendon at third and 2 out. Here's Zimmerman, who cleared the back fence in left field with a 3-run homer off Matt Harvey in the first. Well, we were talking about it earlier. The first pitch that Noah Syndergaard threw in his World Series start in Game 3.
And I know all you folks know, as Moustakas took exception, Hosmer took exception. Coming into the series, the Mets pitchers knew that Escobar is swinging at the first pitch. So that's how he countered that.
Well, they saw it in the
Game
first
1.
pitch of the first game.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang with him.
Well, I think all the Royals players said the right thing yesterday. They said, we got our retaliation. We won.
Yeah, well and on Tuesday night when he makes the start, they will be getting something that's ultimate retaliation when they get their rings.
And they got a chance at him in second game of the season. And it's going to be Ian Kennedy. He's going to be the matchup there. I kind of like the Mets on that matchup.
That was one of the head-scratching signings of the offseason.
Yeah.
Ian Kennedy, 5 years, $70 million. Gosh. Off what he's done the last 3 or 4 years, that's a little hard to figure.
He kind of piggybacked off the Samardzija contract and others, where Samardzija made a lot of money coming off a really bad year.
Yeah, but Samardzija is a different kind of pitcher than Ian Kennedy. A nasty slider from Syndergaard. That's become quite the weapon for Noah.
You know, we saw when he first came up, we saw a lot more curveballs, didn't we, guys? And the slider is a pitch that he's starting to take a liking to.
He didn't really have that pitch when he got to the major leagues, and Dan Warthen worked with him on it, and he has taken to it quite nicely. Popped up into shallow center, easy for Cespedes, and that retires the side. Syndergaard with a strong inning, still 3-0 Nats in the third. Final game in Florida as the Grapefruit League season comes to a close today.
Well, it's nice to see Sean Burnett back in the major leagues. We're talking about a guy that's gone through so many injuries in the last couple of years and trying to pitch himself back into a bullpen.
Coming off his second Tommy John surgery and now in his second stint with the Nationals, and Noah Syndergaard takes a strike.
A little jealous of Noah, watching him and Steven Matz and Jacob deGrom yesterday take at-bat after at-bat in the minor league fields, something they would never do 20, 30 years ago.
Really?
Oh, you would never. You were lucky. I mean, extremely lucky if you could get a coach to throw batting practice to you.
Right.
Most of the time, if you're a pitcher, you have to go in the cage by yourself, fill up the iron mic, and have it pitched to you. That was the only chance.
Now the Mets, as Syndergaard takes a curveball for a call third strike, the Mets have been very judicious about their pitchers swinging. They've limited them to a certain number of swings, only under supervision, because they're concerned about oblique injuries. Who was it strained an oblique swing in the bat a couple of springs ago, right at the beginning of spring training? A pitcher.
Wasn't Strasburg, was it?
No, for the Mets.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it right now, but they're, you know, they're rightfully concerned. These are their most important weapons, and they want to make sure that they don't get hurt doing something unfamiliar. So that surprises me to hear that they had that many at bats.
Oh yeah, I mean they had a classic inning over there where one of the minor leaguers led off with a base hit. Jacob deGrom bunted him over. Steven Matz hit a single to drive him in. I mean they had tons of at bats.
It's like those old pitchers games they used to play in batting practice.
Right.
Sean Burnett now 33 years old. Gets one by Granderson, 2-1.
But he can still be effective if his arm is not shot, because he throws almost from the first base side of that mound, and if you're a left-handed hitter, it's like that pitch is coming from behind you.
Well, we mentioned that the Nats have completely revamped their bullpen. They have Felipe Rivera from the left side, who we saw last September. Remember, he was a little overmatched in some big spots. They have Oli Perez back for a second tour of duty. and Burnett trying to make his comeback. So those are the 3 left-handers, at least the candidates at this moment in the Nats bullpen.
Boy, Ollie's had some career, hasn't he?
He's persevered.
Yeah.
You only have to get one guy at a time. 3-2 to Granderson, and Curtis down on the fastball. So back-to-back strikeouts for Burnett. Today at 5, a panel of New York sports writers will debate Matt Harvey's opening night tune-up in today's game, plus a preview of this weekend's Final Four matchups on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, today at 5 p.m. only on SNY. Two out and nobody on. Now David Wright, who had the softest single of his life his first time up. A broken bat pop up to the first baseman. Ryan Zimmerman, his old buddy from Virginia, fell down, and David was aboard. Tried to score from third on a short fly ball and was thrown out, although the more we looked at the replay, it looked like Wilson Ramos never tagged him. No replay in spring training. David grounds out. 1-2-3 inning for Sean Burnett. After 3-0 Washington. Well, it's been a successful spring training for Noah Syndergaard. He's made some adjustments as well.
Well, I know this is subtle, but look on the left. This is early in spring training at a 45-degree angle to the plate. Now, really perpendicular while he's on the mound. So it's almost, even though he's pitching out of the windup, it looks like it's the stretch. Why does he do that? Because he's trying to eliminate any little extra step involved, because he's such a big athlete. He doesn't need that big windup to throw 95 plus.
Gets the first pitch, curveball into Daniel Murphy. So he's not stepping backwards or sideways. How does he generate the momentum that he needs?
Well, I think what he is doing, because I said he's such a big guy, that what he does as well as any of the Mets pitchers is that when he raises his leg, the balance he has at the very top is where he transfers the power. So he lifts that leg, he balances, and then he gets that 240 pounds going towards the plate like a locomotive. Be interesting. When Keith is his lower half, so there's not a lot going on. But see the balance? And once he bounces, then he starts to the plate. For such a big pitcher, he doesn't have an overly long stride.
Pulled over the bag, but just foul. 2-2 to Murphy.
It's very simplistic. He's got nice mechanics.
Yeah, he does.
I love his follow through.
It's the kind of mechanics that could play for a long time.
Matt Belisle, who has made this Washington team. He was on a minor league deal up in the Washington bullpen.
When I watched Noah last year, his mechanics were all over the place, and I honestly thought he needed a full year in AAA before he was going to be ready. Proved me wrong.
Murphy hits one out to center, chasing Cespedes back and over, and he can't make the play. Misjudged by Cespedes in that win. Murphy's going to try for third. Conforto's throw is too late. And that ball just completely misplayed by Cespedes, who started back and then had to readjust his angle and couldn't get to it.
Well, you've been out there long enough, and this shouldn't happen. The wind is blowing out to left field very hard. The flags are. You should not. That should not happen on the big league level.
If he had kicked that, it would have been very similar to the Escobar play, right?
Yeah, I think this time he was ready. He just didn't play it well. So it's going to be scored a triple for Murphy. The infield comes in for Worth, and the fastball from Syndergaard misses for ball one. So that wind blowing from right across toward left that took that ball away from Cespedes.
So do we all think that the lineup on opening night in Kansas City will be Cespedes in left, Lagares in center, Conforto DH?
I think that's the plan right now.
I would think so, definitely. With the DH, they can do it.
Now the question is, will they do that for both games in Kansas City? Would they? I know that Terry has said he doesn't want to DH David Wright because nobody else is as good a third baseman, but it would seem to make sense, right? That one's going to get the run in at least. Conforto back, takes a look, and it's out of here. Jason Worth with a 2-run homer, and it's 5-0 Washington. Worth's second home run of the spring.
Turned on a fastball there.
So Zimmerman hits a 3-run homer off Harvey, and now Worth with a 2-run homer off Syndergaard.
Fastball in. He just turned on that. He did not get in on him at all.
First home run Syndergaard's given up this spring. And the Nats just continue to hit the ball out of the ballpark as they have this entire month. Now Wilson Ramos, who bounced out to short his first time up. It's 32 home runs in 25 games for the Nats. Good curveball by Syndergaard. In an otherwise disappointing season, the Nats did finish third in the National League in home runs last year, led by Harper. They hit 177. Harper had 42 of them.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything when you finish 7 games behind.
Darno tracking it, puts it away to retire Ramos for the first out.
That series in New York where the Mets swept the Nationals, was it August, Gare?
That was late July, early August.
Yeah, that was the turning point right there. That sent the message, that 4-game sweep at home.
Well, Flores hit the walk-off home run in that series.
That's when the team galvanized.
And then they crushed Zimmerman on that Sunday night. But then the series in Washington in September, when the Mets came in 4 games ahead and Harvey got lit up the first game and the Mets came back and won. That was the one that put it away.
Well, I remember that game because Jordan Zimmerman was throwing the ball well, and he threw a ball that I think was about an inch away from Lucas Duda, and Lucas turned on it and wrapped it around the foul pole, and Zimmerman couldn't believe it.
That was that Sunday night game in New York. Yeah.
And then I'll never forget the game that Storin coughed it up.
Twice. Against Cespedes.
Yes.
Nice play by Duda. Syndergaard over to cover. Now they get Espinosa for the second out. Good reach by Lucas that time.
He's flashing leather. Those played the nice long hop. Very good. Lucas is sure-handed. Whatever he can get to, he makes the plays.
That's two big guys, Duda and Syndergaard, performing a ballet.
Yeah, that's right.
So now 2 out. Tony Campana is going to pinch hit. Campana, the former Cubs speedster who's already been sent to the minors, takes a call strike. When he first came up, Campana might have been the fastest man in the game.
Right. But in baseball, you can't steal first base.
Otherwise, Essex Snead would have been a Hall of Famer. Side retired. Jason Worth goes deep against Noah Syndergaard, and it's 5-0 Washington in the 4th. Next Tuesday was 5 days that brought trades, tears, and redemption to Queens. Relive that crazy week in July that altered the course of the Mets season on 5 days in Flushing, Tuesday at 7:30, only on SNY. 35-year-old Matt Belisle will be the next pitcher for the Nats.
Well, it's nice to see him still in the major leagues. Looks like he's going to be a big part of this bullpen. Belisle, all those years in Colorado, he was maybe one of their most effective relievers over a long period of time.
You survived pitching 6 years out of the bullpen for the Rockies. You deserve for good things to happen. Cespedes hit a bolt off the base of the fence in left field his first time up for a double. And he hits another one hard, and he's 2 for 2.
Pulls this breaking ball. Little slider on the outer half. Trying to get Cespedes to go the other way, but that was a ball he pulled.
So the Mets have their 4th hit. Cespedes has half of them. And here's Lucas Duda, who had a fly ball into a double play his first time up.
A shift on Lucas.
We were talking yesterday about how different teams play their shifts. Looks like the Nationals are going to leave Rendon on the left side in all of their shifts. The Mets have gone a different direction now and overlapped right onto the right side of the infield on most of their shifts. And Duda defies the shift and has himself a base hit.
Well,
that'll teach him.
Hey, you just kind of keep get a rally going. You don't have to hit a home run here. Keep it going. I agree. Nice hitting. Nice and level swing on that high pitch.
So the Mets with back-to-back base hits to start the fourth. And now Neil Walker, who scurried one through the hole on the right side his first time up. And Walker lifts one out to left. Worth has it lined up, and that's the first out. So one away. Now Michael Conforto, who hit a bullet into a double play his first time up. Conforto came up early enough last year in July that he has 174 big league at bats, which means he is no longer a rookie. Anything more than 130 at bats and you lose your rookie status. Steven Matz, on the other hand, by virtue of getting hurt and winding on the disabled list, had few enough innings that he is still a rookie.
Oh, wow.
He's a left-hander, number 32, did pretty well in his rookie year, didn't he?
That's right. John Madlock won Rookie of the Year in 1972 as a Met.
With this defensive setup, you got to be careful if you're Cespedes, because Espinosa's right behind you. They could put a pickoff play on any time.
Boy, Conforto, for such a young hitter, is just so impressive with his eye at the plate. That was a tough pitch to lay off right there. Took it beautifully.
Popped up. Murphy waiting for it. Infield fly rule invoked, and he gives way to Espinosa. Well,
I've never seen Murph back off from a play before.
You know, the infield fly rule calls for it being an ordinary chance for an infielder, but there are not that many ordinary chances for that infielder. And that's the second out. So 2 away, and now as Drupal Cabrera, who walked his first time up. Mets don't see the Nationals until well into the season. May 17th, the first meeting at Citi Field. And then the Mets are in Washington the following week. The Mets have got what on paper seems to be a very easy schedule in the month of April. 6 games with the Phillies, 3 with the Braves, 3 with the Reds, all of whom should have difficulty competing this year.
Reds are having a hard time just getting 5 starters to start the season.
Well, they thought that DeSclafani was going to be their opening day starter, but now he's hurt. I had never heard the word tanking used in association with Major League Baseball teams until this past offseason. And now it's being applied to at least 4 National League teams, right? Phillies, Braves, Brewers, Reds.
Well, it's, you know, we've heard it before where you think to yourself, okay, you're either all in with a chance to win it, but now teams are saying, no, we just don't have the personnel to win it right now. So why go out and get players that are going to help you compete when it might be better to get that draft pick?
Belisle strikes out Cabrera with the slider. Works around a couple of hits in the 4th. 5-0 Nats as we go to the 5th. Changes for the Mets as we go to the 5th inning. David Wright, who played 9 innings yesterday, comes out, and Eric Campbell will play third base. And Alejandro De Aza goes into center field as Cespedes can get himself ready for Vegas. But actually a pretty nice day. The forecast called for rain today, which was why Max Scherzer stayed back in Vieira to pitch in a minor league game for the Nats. But skies are partly cloudy right now, 78 degrees. Lovely afternoon.
We're lucky we only played 2 hours and 7 minutes yesterday because the skies opened up after the game.
You're right about that. It was the shortest game of the spring. If it had gone a routine length, there's no way they would have been able to finish it. Michael Taylor will bat for Ben Revere as we go to the 5th inning.
Well, I think Taylor's going to play against left-handed pitching in center field. Revere against right-handed pitching. I mean, Taylor's got some hidden power. I think he home run 476 last year.
We've seen a lot of Taylor over the last couple of years. The defensive skills, the power, the speed. He's got all the tools.
Well, he's one of those great athletes that has come to baseball not late, but learning how to hit later. And if he keeps developing, he's going to be outstanding.
Well, he actually, his development was probably enhanced last year by the fact that the Nats had all those injuries. With Worth out for a considerable period of time, he got to play a lot. He had over 400 at-bats last year.
His only Achilles heel, though, is that he strikes out way too much. He's going to have to change that.
You know what? That's the game today. Everybody strikes out.
Last year, 158 strikeouts and 472 at-bats.
Oh, that's like, I'm sorry. I'd have to stay away from bridges and high places.
Syndergaard behind 3-1. And Taylor fouls it off. (3-2) and that's foul. Matt Harvey went 2 innings today through 29 pitches. Gave up 3 runs and 2 hits. In his final tune-up for his opening night start on Sunday. Syndergaard will have a lengthier outing today, getting ready for his start, which is 6 days away. And that slider in for a call, 3rd strike. Nicely done to get Taylor for the first out.
Kind of buckled his world here. Haven't heard that phrase in a while. You see him fly open with his front shoulder, and that was it.
Now Scott Sizemore will be a pinch hitter. Sizemore batting for Anthony Rendon, so a lot of the starters in the last game in Florida getting a half a day. Sizemore has already been sent down by the Nats. Last played in the big leagues with the Yankees for a brief period 2 years ago. They were running every warm body through that Yankee infield a couple of years back.
Yeah, it was the infield a couple of years back. Last year it was the relief pitchers.
Right. His most substantial big league time came in Detroit and Oakland. And he lifts that one to right. Granderson with the wind grabbing it comes in. Make sure with 2 hands.
It's a tough outfield today with this wind.
That was interesting because as soon as Granderson caught that ball, he pointed to De Aza, which probably meant that De Aza was screaming at him in, because from his angle he could see that the wind had gotten it.
Well, we already saw that wind blow one away from Cespedes earlier in the game. But De Aza was on the ball there, helping out his teammate. 2 out, and now Matt Dendecker will be the pinch hitter. It was, I believe it was on this day last year that Matt Dendecker was traded for Jerry Blevins. Let's go back and look, but I think it was March 30th. And it's a deal that both teams are still hoping will pay dividends. Mets got a little glimpse of Blevins last year and liked what they saw. Dendecker got some playing time for the Nats, and he's got a base hit here. Might have broken his bat in the process, and he'll get 2 bases out of it. Dendecker with a 2-out double.
Well, I've always liked Dendecker. I know he struck out a lot. He's got potential. I just don't know if he's ever going to get a chance to play every day.
You bring that up, Keith. He early in his Mets career, he did strike out a lot, had some power, and then he kind of changed his swing a little to make a little more contact.
Remember they lowered his hands, and he had that Philadelphia series when he got called up in Philly and he hit line drives all over that ballpark. And I thought that the Mets had something, and they just didn't play him that much, and he had sporadic play and kind of lost his rhythm.
Clint Robinson now batting for Ryan Zimmerman, who hit a 3-run homer back in the first inning. Clint Robinson, as a 30-year-old rookie last year, had a nice season for the Nats. Another guy who got a chance to play because of the injuries.
He had never. They asked him about making the team out of spring training last year. He said, make the team. He said, I've never, ever even made it deep into a big league camp before.
He had had cups of coffee with the Royals and with the Dodgers, but just a handful of at-bats. And last year got to play and was very impressive.
It'll be interesting, though, if he doesn't get the playing time that he got last year, if he's able to still be effective off the bench.
Well, that's an interesting question for the Nats, because remember they had Tyler Moore, who a few years ago did a great job filling in, but never really got the hang of pinch hitting, and they finally dealt Moore away to the Braves a couple of days ago. And now Robinson might be in that same circumstance of trying to prove that he can be productive with sporadic playing time. Two from Syndergaard, and it's popped up. Cabrera has it, and he's got it. Side retired. A double and one left. Halfway through on the last day in Florida. 5-0 Nats. All right, you ready? Jose Lobaton now doing the catching. Clint Robinson at first base. Stephen Drew, that's actually Trey Turner at second. And Scott Sizemore at third. And now we back up and show you Stephen Drew at shortstop. See, they threw a monkey wrench.
Well, I'm the one. I told you that Turner would be at short.
Reed Johnson in left. Michael Taylor in center. And Matt Dendecker in right. The new pitcher is Blake Trinan. And a call strike to Travis d'Arnaud. And now we're up to date.
Trinan is a guy that they are expecting good things out of him. He's got a great sinker and throws hard.
Bounce down to third. Nice pickup by Sizemore, and d'Arnaud retired, one away.
Nice short hop. Come get it. Can't get a bad hop on that short hop.
Now Jeff McNeil will be a pinch hitter for the Mets. McNeil over from the minor league camp. You can tell the minor league guys two ways. One, no names on their back. Two, the double flap helmets. Now required in the minor leagues. And McNeil takes a strike.
Also in the minor league games, let's say that your bench is on the first base side. If there's a right-handed hitter up and you're on deck, you have to go on the other side of him to not be in the way if he fouls off a ball late.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that new this year?
Yep, new this year.
Jeez, what do you think of next?
Fifth inning recap presented by Ford. Another rough outing for Matt Harvey. Gave up a 3-run homer to Ryan Zimmerman. And Cespedes' day is done after a single and a double. And Dusty Baker is on his way to the mound with Curtis Granderson coming up. He's got a lefty up in the bullpen. I think that's Felipe Rivero. And so we'll get a pitching change. And Rivero will come in. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back to Tradition Field. Felipe Rivero in to face Curtis Granderson with 2 out and nobody on in the 5th, and he gets the breaking ball out of the strike zone. Ball 1.
Well, he had a good season last year, but not against the Mets.
Well, we saw him at his worst in September. In that series that the Mets swept at Nationals Park, in 2 games, Rivero faced 6 batters and didn't retire any of them. Gave up 3 hits and 3 walks. Matt Williams kept trying to finesse lefty-righty situations, and it kept coming up snake eyes.
Everything he did just blew up like their season.
It's part of the problem, right, with managing in September. You have so much personnel, especially in your bullpen. Sometimes you have a tendency to get to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he kept getting to the wrong guy.
Well, Keith was talking about the Mets galvanizing, coming together in early August. Zach Thornton up for the Mets in the bullpen. But that series was one of those series where it didn't matter. Every time Cespedes came up, you knew he'd get a big hit.
Well, twice they brought in Storen to face Cespedes, and it didn't work either time. Off the plate, and it's 3-2 to Granderson. You know, the Mets kind of caught the Nationals in a transitional situation, right? Storen had been bumped from that closer's role for the 2nd time. There's ball 4 to Granderson. And really that series, Storen came off the mound and punched his locker and broke his hand, and that was the end of his Nationals career right there.
We mentioned that Storen did not get that closer's job in Toronto.
Right. Roberto Osuna beat him out for that. Travis Tyrone will come in to run for Granderson.
See Terry Collins, if you heard in the background, he said, "Good at bat, Grandy."
Eric Campbell up for the first time. Came in and played 3rd base last inning. And bounces one over the bag. Nice play by Sizemore. The long throw on a hop can't be handled. And everybody's safe. It'll be a base hit for Campbell. Terrific stop by Sizemore.
That had double written all over it. Boy, a good 1.5 in foul territory. Nice play.
So 2 on and 2 out. Now Alejandro De Aza comes up for the first time. It's been a good spring for De Aza, hitting .372. And takes a slider from Rivero for a strike.
I know these don't count, but Rivero still hasn't retired a bit.
You know, I was going to go there, and I said, you know, I don't want to be cruel and sadistic.
Such restraint you have going into this season.
It's only spring training. There's no sense unleashing his full powers now. 1-1 to De Aza. And there's a fastball for a strike. 96 from Rivero. Rivera, the 5th pitcher that the Nationals views this afternoon on a bullpen day. They're heading home after the game today. De Aza strikes out to end the inning. So Rivero finally retires a Met after 5-0 Nats. Today's pitchers brought to you by Cadillac. Mets threw 2 starters out there today, and each gave up a home run with men on base. Harvey gave up a 3-run shot to Ryan Zimmerman. Syndergaard yielded a 2-run homer to Jason Worth, and that has the Nats up 5-0 as we go to the 6th. Johnny Manel comes in to catch for the Mets. Travis Tyrone, who pinch ran, stays in right field, and Zach Thornton, the former Oregon Duck, is on the mound. And Trey Turner promptly screws himself into the ground. Turner, the very bright prospect, shortstop of the future for the Nationals, was just sent down.
Oh, that always hurts.
Right off the instep. Well, Dusty Baker called him in the office when he sent him down, said he wants him to improve his defense, and he wants him to improve his leadership qualities, be a little more vocal in that shortstop position. This guy can fly. Might be the fastest guy in all of baseball.
He was the man in limbo for much of last year.
That's right.
Was traded from the Padres to the Nats, but they couldn't announce it till a year after he'd been drafted because of the rules at the time. Shatters his bat and rolls it out to Cabrera, who throws him out. 1 away. It had to be a very odd situation to be in, right? You're still being nurtured by an organization that really has no interest in it.
And if you're the Nationals, you're just counting on San Diego to do the right thing, you know, to put him on the field and to continue to allow him to develop.
Here's the veteran Ray Johnson, who's made a career of pummeling the Mets, no matter what uniform he's worn. And he's still got a crack to make this team. Probably comes down to Johnson or Dendecker as their 5th outfielder.
Ow.
And that one hits him.
Well, that's one way where he can't hurt you too badly.
Well, that was a double hit. Got Johnson, got Manel. And now Jose Lobaton will come to bat. Lobaton took over behind the plate from Wilson Ramos. Zach Thornton, the 3rd Met pitcher of the afternoon. Did we mention he went to the University of Oregon?
Yes, you did.
He's a Duck. That'll make our director very happy.
I'm surprised Dan Barr is not flying the flag. That garish green and yellow flag. It's a call strike 1-1. I mean, they've got a great program there, football and basketball. But does any school have uglier uniforms?
Well, they have more uniforms. I know that.
Well, they have a lot of resources.
That's right. Yeah, Mr. Knight does them well.
One and one to Lobaton, and he fouls one away. Sunday on the season premiere of Mets Insider. With success comes high expectations. Get an inside look at a team on a mission, eager for another incredible season on Mets Insider, presented by W.B. Mason. Premieres Sunday at 7, only on SNY. A little chopper, and Duda will take it himself. Put the tag on Lobaton, 2 out, and Johnson goes to second.
Come on, pick him up.
So 2 away. Now Stephen Drew will come to bat. The well-traveled Mr. Drew picked up as infield insurance, mostly so that the Nats wouldn't have to rush Trey Turner to the major leagues.
I mean, think about it. He was his defense was so important to the Red Sox run in 2013 in the postseason, and then he declined the qualifying offer and then couldn't get an offer from anyone.
It's kind of a It's a Drew family tradition.
Yeah, right.
Remember JD refused to sign with the Phillies when he was drafted and went play independent ball?
Scott Boras clients, correct?
I believe so.
Yep.
JD got booed in Philadelphia every time he played there his entire career. Sean Kelly up in the Nationals bullpen. What did he parlay a good year last year into a nice contract?
He did.
I mean, Kelly's a guy who had been a journeyman his entire career, and then last year had a good year in San Diego, and he got a 3-year, $15 million deal.
If you're not a closer or even some elite setup man, it is a dream for a middle reliever to get himself a 3-year contract, because usually they're fighting every year for a job.
It's tap foul, but those things seem to be more prevalent now. The Darren O'Days and people like that have really changed the nature of what the 7th and 8th inning guys get. And you know, you have more teams whose game plan seems to be to dominate the last 3 innings. Certainly the Yankees are the epitome of that this year.
Well, you have to dominate the last 3 innings because you're only getting 18 outs from your starters. So that's how the game has changed.
Well, what I read some statistics yesterday, and I can't quote them specifically, but they compared last year to 15 years earlier, and the number of games that teams are able to overcome deficits in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, and their percentages are way down. Teams are protecting leads late in games better than ever. Just shows you the emphasis on solidifying those innings. And in most cases, those innings are now being pitched exclusively by relievers, whereas it used to be, you know, even as recently as 15 years ago, there'd be more starters late in the game. Drew takes one the other way toward the corner, and it's a fair ball, a home run. The 3rd home run of the game for the Nationals, as Drew sliced one inside the left field foul pole for a 2-run homer. And it's now 7-0 Washington.
Well, that's a little bit of a wind aider right there, but they all count. And the Nationals are beginning to rub it in.
Well, Drew hit 17 home runs last year for the Yankees, benefiting from the short porch in the Bronx. This time slicing one down the left field line, and clearly fair. Now Chris Heisey is pinch hitting.
Remember him as that extra outfielder for all those years in the Cincinnati organization.
Played for Dusty Baker.
There you go.
And don't think the Nationals aren't liking this. They know that they're the mark as the Mets, and after last season, the Mets have not won a game against the Nationals this spring. So this is kind of what I'm sure Dusty Baker was like, making a statement here.
Well, all that having been said, Dusty is better off to have May 17th circled on his calendar.
Yeah, right.
That's the first meeting between these two teams that'll count. But, you know, if the Nats win this game, they'll be 18-4, and the Mets will be 7-16, and it doesn't mean anything once you start playing for real Sunday or Monday, but gives you hope if you're trying to rebound from a disappointing year last year. Another broken bat handled by Campbell, and that retires a side. 2-run homer for Stephen Drew makes it 7-0. That's the last beach shot we'll see this year. Upcoming schedule presented by WB Mason. Mets head to Vegas for 2 with the Cubs the next 2 days and then reconvene in Kansas City for the start of the 2016 season. We'll be back with you on Tuesday for game 2 of the championship season in Kansas City.
So they're playing Washington today. That's going to be their main rival. Play Chicago, who they had to get through to get to the World Series, and then of course Kansas City.
All you're missing is the Dodgers.
Yeah, right.
Sean Kelly on the mound for the Nats, facing Duda, who's 1 for 2 today. Took a base hit the other way his last time up. 31-year-old Sean Kelly, the 6th pitcher of the afternoon for Dusty Baker. And promptly behind on Duda, 3-0. Kelly pitched 4 years in Seattle and 2 with the Yankees, and quite honestly was not impressive.
Yeah.
And then last year went to San Diego, which has always been a great place for relief pitchers, and put up a terrific year. He was in 53 games, pitched to a 2.45 ERA, lowest whip of his career, 1.09. That's driven deep down the right field line by Duda. Hooking, foul.
That was into the wind too. That's why it's interesting to see him get that 3-year contract, because he's one of those guys. I hope I'm not talking out of line, but he's one of those relievers I think are kind of fungible. You know what I mean? Like, he'll have a good year and maybe he won't have a good year.
That's on the inside corner, and Duda's caught looking for the first out.
Fastball in. 3-1. Lucas was teeing off, just foul, and that's a good 2-strike pitch right there inside corner.
By the way, Ronnie, I think fungible may be my favorite baseball word.
Oh, yeah?
It's very close to fundies.
Close to fungo.
I thought for a minute I wasn't paying attention. I thought you said fundies. I didn't understand what you were talking about.
That's your word. I don't tread on that.
Like the Bay of Fungibles?
Yeah.
Sorry. Neil Walker's 1 for 2, had a base hit back in the second. Mets have 6 hits today, but have not been able to play to run. They were shut out yesterday as well. This is in danger of being the 13th straight game for the Mets in spring training without a win. Don't know if anybody's ever finished the Grapefruit League with a 13-game winless streak. Walker pops one up to left center. Taylor and Johnson converge, and Taylor, the taller man, makes the catch. Johnson did well to
back away,
avoid contact.
He's calling off. That's the center fielder, and just get clear.
Get small.
Keith, I will never traipse on fundies, Metsies, Elstonkowski.
Well, I stole the Metsies from Casey.
Archie Bell and the Drells. That's all you.
I like to bring a little Casey into our broadcast as much as I can.
Then you do it more like Metsies.
That's right. It's a nice stat we threw on the board there. Conforto, very dangerous, although not swinging there on first pitch last year.
One and one to Conforto, who's 0 for 2 today.
It's my favorite chant.
You used to raise your hackles. I think you've mellowed.
You think?
I think.
Nah.
We'll find out in the first 4-hour game.
Oh.
It's slider by Kelly. 2-2.
But that's his go-to pitch, that slider.
I said it, Yaron, in between. He's a, what'd you call him?
Slider guy. Just loves throwing that pitch.
What'd you say?
Slider Masterson, yeah.
Yes. Like bat. Good cut.
Right behind you.
Dusty Baker getting every available reliever into this game, which works for him. The Nats were rained out 3 of the last 4 days. It'll put a big crimp in your preparation for your season.
Good eye.
Slider misses 3-2. So their work is kind of backed up. They go home to play a couple of games in Washington against the Twins before their season begins. There's Oliver Perez. Be in this game before long.
There's a few minutes from jumping over that first baseline.
Right. Ollie may have to make an adjustment when the Nats come to New York. That lump in his cheek will not be legal
that's
anymore.
Right.
3-2. And that's
Nice.
away ball 4. Conforto able to work out a walk.
Nice at bat.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner, and now as Drupal Cabrera, who's walked and struck out today, 0 for 1.
We've seen some city councils around baseball have decided Chicago, they're not going to ban it, and now New York stadiums.
Boston, were they?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
Are
but
they getting ready to do that?
Could you take that to the? Can you sue? I mean, hey, you know, it's my rights. If I want to chew tobacco.
Well, you can't smoke in the ballpark, so why is that any different?
That just. Hey, maybe you could take it to the Supreme Court all the way up to the top.
You only have 8 right now.
Split, you saying?
4-4 tie.
So we revert back to the lower court.
That's the way it works for the moment. Oh, and 1 to Cabrera. Johnny Manel is on deck. Yeah, there's a strike. 0-2 to Cabrera.
You know, we just recently lost one of the great baseball men of all time, Joe Garagiola, and he was the first in spring training that would start talking about the evils of smokeless tobacco.
Right. Joe was a very fine man.
Drew out, Taylor in, and Taylor calls, and that retires the side. A walk and 1 left after 6. 7-0 Nats. Seventh inning, Zach Thornton will work a second inning. Michael Taylor leads off for the Nats, and he takes ball 1. Changes for the Mets. Mark Krause now playing first base. Ty Kelly is at second, and Matt Reynolds at short. So the only player on either side who's been in the entire game so far is Michael Conforto, who's still in left field for the Mets. Thornton behind 2-0, and Taylor whacks one to Kelly, who misplays it, and it's into right center field. Looks like he just whiffed on it.
I think he thought it was hit harder. He just kind of changed it. I think he thought it.
I have to take another look at that. I was ready to put an L4 on there. He just missed it. He should have caught that ball.
Lucky he didn't hit him in the face. That would have been bad. So Taylor is aboard. Here's Sizemore, and he takes a strike, and we send it downstairs to Steve Gelb. Steve?
Thanks, Gary. Here with Travis d'Arnaud, today's starting catcher. And Travis, a day like today, a little bit unique where you have both Harvey and Syndergaard starting against really what's going to be the starting lineup for the Nationals. In a case like this, do you hold anything back because it's spring training and you don't want to show them something, or do you kind of just worry about your guys and getting their work in?
Just worry about our guys and getting our work in. You know, with those two guys, we're really focusing on just getting their final pitching in before their first start of the year. I thought Matt looked great. The ball was coming out of his hand really well. You just got to tip the cap to Zimmerman. He got a good swing right there. And then I thought Noah looked great too. We made sure we used that changeup effectively today and kept using it over and over.
You also used that slider a couple of times, something that he's developed really nicely over the last year or so. Last year in spring training did not have that slider. How much of a weapon has that become for Syndergaard?
Oh, that's a huge weapon. I mean, it's a plus slider, and you add that on top of his plus curveball and his plus changeup. I mean, it's a deadly combination.
Travis, what about for you as a starting catcher? You're in a bit of a unique position in terms of you have to work with the pitchers, but you also want to get your hitting in during spring training. How do you balance that, and has it really changed over time here as you've grown more and more comfortable?
Well, first and foremost, it's all about working with the pitchers, communicating with the pitchers, telling them what I see behind the plate, and them telling me what they see in front of the plate. So a lot of that's just communication and kind of going through some experience moments in spring training, just so to refresh your memory for the year to come. And offensively, it's just about getting the work in, trusting the process, and going out there and waiting for your pitch to hit.
Which pitchers surprised you the most this spring? We all know about the big guys, but has there been anybody else that stuck out?
Well, I thought Bart's done a tremendous job. I mean, I still can't believe he can make the ball move that much, and he knows how to have fun, and he keeps everyone loose out there on the field.
Travis, as you move forward now and look towards the regular season, is there a little bit of extra juice in the fact that there is that scheduling quirk and you guys are going right back to Kansas City for the opener?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That's how the scheduling happened to be, and it'll be a good way for us to see them get their rings, and it'll kind of give us a chip on our shoulder to show us all what we want at the end of this year.
You spoke a lot this spring about that World Series and how the Royals, really ran. They scored, they stole 7 bases. I know you said that at times you sped up a little bit. Are you looking forward to kind of jumping right back into the deep end in that regard as well, in terms of trying to throw those guys out?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I'm looking forward to the start of this year to be thrown back in that Shark Tank against a great team in the Royals, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're all looking forward to it.
Travis, appreciate the time. See you in Kansas City.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Gary.
All right, thanks, Steve. And the interview brought to you by Citi. The one thing that works in Travis's favor, the fastest guy for the Royals, Gerard Dyson, is going to be on the disabled list to start the season.
Who'd you say that is going to be their right fielder? He's a new
Raymond
guy.
Fuentes, former first-round pick of the Red Sox. Looks like he's going to be the opening day right fielder. And really, that's the only change for the Royals. It's substantially the same team. Double play ball. Kelly to Reynolds, and in time to get Dendecker for the 4-6-3 double play. Nicely turned against Dendecker's speed.
Taylor made double play, close at first, just got him.
Yeah, with no neighborhood play, close at second too.
That's another one that you could challenge.
Right. In the regular season, that's certainly.
I have a hunch that they're going to regret that.
They are.
They're going to regret that change. It's going to slow the game up.
Do you think that it will result in the opposite of what they intended? Because that was very close. I mean, they changed the rule, right? Where the player has to slide directly into the bag and stay on the bag to prevent injury. Will not allowing the neighborhood play create injury?
Well, what you're doing with the rule, they're counterintuitive. Right. So what they're doing is you're trying to keep the player closer to the bag, and you're keeping the infielder closer to the bag. So the two parts are going to meet more often.
It's like working cross purposes.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out once the regular season starts, because much like when they changed the collision rule at home plate, you've got players who have done something one way their whole careers who now have to make an adjustment in terms of the middle infielders, particularly the shortstops. It applies more to them than it does to the second baseman.
I should know this, but I figured I don't have to know it until Tuesday night. But the neighborhood play, how do you request to have the umpire check it? Does he check it himself, or does he call it himself?
No, I think it's challengeable.
So
the same
how many
way.
times can you challenge it?
Well, any time it happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's not good either.
Just like every other play. There's a walk to Robinson.
I think it's terrible.
Because then you could have some gamesmanship. You might know that he stayed in the neighborhood, but you have to get a reliever up. And you might come out and challenge it just to delay the game a little bit.
But it's the same as every other challenge.
Okay.
And you still have just the one challenge, right? Unless you're successful and then you get a second.
Oh, well. I just think there's going to be a lot of situations that there are going to be a lot of challenges on it this year. You got, in the heat of the battle, when you got to turn a quick double play, you've got a lot of guys, shortstops and second basemen, they grew up turning two like that.
Well, I'm waiting for the first time, Gary, that you call first and third in the ninth, one out, 4 to 6 to 3 double play. The Mets win, and wait a minute.
Well, it's going to keep those replay coordinators that each team has down in the clubhouse, very busy.
Yep.
Watching their monitors, helping teams decide what to challenge. Little number back to Thornton, and he gets Trey Turner to retire the side. So a hit, couple of walks, but Thornton able to slither out of trouble. 7th inning stretch time, 7-0 Nats. From all the latest Jets news to the concerns surrounding their quarterback situation, hear all your questions answered on the Jets Blog podcast, only on the Jets Blog, part of the SNY.TV blog network.
Have they signed the Harvard guy yet? No?
I've not been paying attention, I have to tell you. Johnny Manel up against Oliver Perez, who comes on to pitch for the Nats.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Every time I see Oliver on the mound, a smile comes to my face. He has all these little picadillos that he does, turns his back to the plate.
Well, he's kind of come full circle. He was with the Nationals back in 2011, but never pitched for them because he was hurt that year. And remember, his last ever game as a Met was against the Nationals in the 14th inning on the last day of the season. No one will ever forget that, who was there. Or even those who had left. Ollie had been sitting around in the bullpen for the better part of a month without getting in a game before the Mets ran out of pitching on that last day of the season. And he was pressed into action. That is 6 years ago. It's hard to believe. And it skips into Lobaton, and it's 2-2.
55-foot curveball there by Ollie.
Ollie pitched for the Diamondbacks and the Astros last year.
Come on now.
34 years old. Feels like he should be older, but he came up at such a young age. He was in the big leagues when he was 20 with San Diego. Just misses with the breaking ball, and it's 3-2.
Every motion's different. When he takes the sign also, he flips that glove so it faces the hitter. Watch this. I mean, very unusual. I don't even think I can make my arm do that.
I was just gonna say, how that's gotta be double jointed to do that, don't you? Amanel strikes out of the fastball, and that's the first out of the inning. Ollie, the 7th pitcher to work for the Nats today. Now Kevin Plawecki will pinch it.
I would hate to be graded on my scorecard today. Not very good effort.
I'm actually been kind of tidy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've been sloppy all spring, but I just final tune-up.
Well, you're rounding into regular season form. Nice grab by Ollie, and that's the second out. So two-way. Now Travis Tyrone will bat for the first time. Came in as a pinch runner, stayed in right field. Tyrone has already been sent down to minor league camp. Had a good spring for the Mets. Got 36 at bats, hit .333, a homer, 10 RBIs. He's done nothing but put up good hitting numbers in the minor leagues. And he'll be in Vegas as insurance if the Mets need an outfielder. Certainly a position at which they have more depth than they expected at the major league level now, with the re-signing of Cespedes. It's got to be difficult when you're a player in a team system and you're working your way up, and all of a sudden the big league team signs a player at your position, and you realize you get pushed further down the depth chart.
How about being a young starting pitcher in AA or AAA with the Mets? Hang with them.
Now, the one thing that you have to know, though, if you're a young player and you haven't gotten a big league opportunity, is that you're not just playing for your organization, you're playing for every organization.
Yeah, you can't get your dauber down. All you have to do is go out and have a good year. That's the only way to counter that.
Only misses with the fastball, and it's 2-2.
Well, back in the day when the Yankees had all those great teams before the draft, and they pretty much cherry-picked all the great players, and you couldn't, you'd waste away in AAA. You'd have no chance to break in those old Yankee clubs.
Right. And with the reserve clause, you had no way out. Now with 6-year minor league free agency, if you are languishing in an organization, at least you can take a crack somewhere else. 3-2, and Tyrone laces one into right center. Well, Travis Tyrone continues to impress with his bat this spring.
Very nice. 7-0 lead. You're going to get a fastball. Went right with it. Very nice.
So the Mets have their 7th hit of the afternoon. And now Eric Campbell, who had a base hit in his only at bat, an infield single in the 5th. I love that Ronnie is sitting here trying to figure out how Ollie turns his glove.
And honestly, it hurts my elbow to do that.
It's the opposite of pronating, right?
That's right. A little changeup from Oliver. ...20 years old. You said he came up with San Diego. He had a real big year in Pittsburgh. Struck out over 200, I believe.
And that was at age 22. 239 strikeouts and 196 innings. Back when that was something. Right?
Right.
Strikeouts have now proliferated to the point in the game that you have to kind of adjust your sights as to what's a particularly impressive figure for a pitcher. Used to be if you averaged a strikeout per inning, that was a big deal. Now it's pretty routine.
And the real good relievers are at 15 plus.
A hit and 1 left after 7. That's still down 7-zip. Youngster out on the berm. Those French fries?
Yep.
Those look good.
Oh, toast.
Out cold.
Well, you're gonna have to get used to that, Ronnie. You're back to the daddy business.
It is.
Ronnie, a new father this past off season.
I'd have to say that that baby sleeping is a very good thing. I found that out. Well, thanks, guys. It's
You signed up for the next 18 years?
yes, blessed. So I'll be at this job a little longer.
Ronald Maurice Darling III.
Very Ivy League.
Reed Johnson, first pitch swinging, whacks one from Hansel Robles in the left field for a base hit.
The reason that my wife and I chose that name is my dad, born in 1938, grew up in kind of the foster home system, and he probably thought as a young guy that Darling, Ronald Maurice Darling name would never go any further than him. It's gone to me and now another generation. So
it's the third? Oh, second. Third?
Third. A senior,
How does that work?
Well, senior is my father. I'm junior. And then it goes right to the third.
Oh, so it skips the second. That's right, because it wouldn't be the second.
Yeah, he's not a
Junior in the second.
He's not a king in like a Shakespeare play.
I like the Maurice.
Deaza catches the fly ball from Lobaton for the first out. Now, but you've got a a pet name?
Well, you know what's funny is that all of my friends have decided to call him different things. I have friends who said they're going to call him Mo because of Maurice, but my wife and I have been calling him because it was kind of a difficult pregnancy. So he was a fighter. So we've been calling him Cassius, or Sweet Baby Cash, Cassius Clay.
That's good.
He was a hero of mine when I was a kid.
So you stayed away from the tray or the chip, or
exactly. Yeah, we tried to stay away from the obvious, but
Cassius, I like.
We'll see how far that goes. You know how names can change as your kids get older.
Well, congratulations to you and Joanna. It's a great thing, and of course you got the 2 older boys,
That's right.
Jordan and Tyler, who have to be over the moon.
So excited, and Jordan, who's the middle child now, is just so happy not to be the youngest. He's just ecstatic about it.
Joanna's just got to be thrilled to death, huh?
You know, she has like a kindness aura around her anyways. It's exponentially greater right now.
Hansel Robles on the mound. He will be unavailable to the Mets the first 2 games of the season in Kansas City. He'll be suspended after his errant pitch to Cameron Rupp last year. Fly ball hit to left, and Conforto is there. And there are 2 out. Get to Citi Field Sunday, April 10th. Mets battle the Phillies at 1:10. All fans in attendance will receive a Mets rally towel. Plus, it's the first family Sunday of 2016, where all kids 12 and under can run the bases post-game in the Mr. Met Dash. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sunday.
So let's walk through that suspension. So he quick pitched before what the Phillies took exception to. Remember Frenchie, Jeff Francoeur, Larry Bowen, is that he quick pitched the hitter before the Philadelphia Philly players thought he was ready at the bat. So it was kind of a dangerous place to put a hitter, that the ball was on its way before he had even looked up. But I don't know where the suspension came from.
I always felt if you got quick pitched and you got caught, asleep at the switch.
This is Jonathan Solano pinch hitting, and Robles off the mound to field it, and he has himself a quick inning in the top of the 8th. A hit and 1 left. Jerseys for sale? Anybody? We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Mets trying to avoid being shut out for the 2nd straight day. Nick Massett will be the 8th Washington pitcher today.
We'll see with the Marlins and Braves. Massett had some of his better years in that Cincinnati bullpen, setting up a role as Chapman.
Juan Lagares will pinch hit for the Mets, and he takes the pitch low.
Oh, man.
Throwing 90 now. Massett was one of those guys from 95 plus with a big overhand hook.
Big, hard, heavy ball, heavy sink. I remember.
First came up with the Indians, right, before he went to Cincinnati, and then he had all sorts of arm problems when he was with the Reds, and that has certainly diminished his velocity.
Like they're singing a lullaby.
Why? Because it's putting you to sleep. I hear you. I do have to say the crowds in spring training have been unbelievable.
Biggest day by day that I can ever remember.
Me too.
And that's inside ball 4, so Lagares is on with a leadoff walk.
Well, there's sprinkling of them there. A lot of them have left early.
Well, short day for Lagares. He pinch hits, and now he'll leave for a pinch runner. Champ Stewart will come in to run for him.
Good baseball name.
Champ Summers.
Yep.
And Mark Krause will bat for the first time. Came in at first base after Duda played the first 6 innings. Time of the Mets getting into Las Vegas tonight? Probably about 8 o'clock local.
Yeah, you get a couple hours, right?
They lose 3, right? And they gain 3.
Right. Down to first. Robinson gets the out at second. The return gets by the pitcher, but hits off the photo well, and Krause will stay at first. So it's a 3-6 fielder's choice.
It's a nice feed. It's not a good throw. Turn that.
Maybe a ball that Massett should have caught.
Oh yeah, but you know
it's tough when those pitchers are running to the bag like that. It's a tough play for a pitcher.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you want to have a perfect throw. That's really the only way that the pitcher is going to catch it.
Here's Ty Kelly batting for the first time. Kelly's gotten a lot of playing time this spring with the Mets.
Yeah, he has. So tonight is a classic night. You were saying they get into Vegas around 8 o'clock. This would be one of those nights, Keith, right? You have a big league dinner. You get as many guys as you can together. You go out, go to a nice restaurant. Well,
it's Vegas. They go into dinner?
Yeah, big league dinner first.
Big league dinner.
Vegas stays open late. I don't know if you knew that.
They're not going to have dinner till 2 in the morning, you know.
I'm just saying there might be other things to do.
No, you got to eat. Well, they could eat on the plane, but I would just get a little snack on the plane and have a big league dinner in Vegas. Then maybe go see the Follies.
3-1 to Kelly. Wade Newton still playing in Vegas?
I was going to say Harry Blackstone Jr. or what?
Siegfried and Roy. Baseball 4 and Kelly's on, so Massett's walked 2 here in the 8th. I think Keith is probably ready to drop it on Bugsy Malone.
I'm still partial to the old strip in Vegas as to the new one. The new one's just like a big supermarket. I mean, not supermarket, I mean a big mall.
Yeah. I haven't been to Vegas in I don't know how many years. Long time.
Yeah.
I have. I did. Was it last year? when you had was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, when you had Seattle and I was in San Diego, and I picked them up. So I said I had 3 days off and pick up the team in Milwaukee, and you had Seattle.
Yeah.
I said, well, I might as well go to Vegas for 3 days. I'm not going to fly all the way home and fly back to Milwaukee. So that was the first time I've been in Vegas in around 20-something years.
And did you see the Follies?
I did.
1-1 to Conforto.
My favorite casino in the old days was the Frontier. And this is going back now.
That's like downtown?
Yeah. That was the old strip.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when I was.
Right.
Because you could play with a single deck blackjack with $1. You can play with $1. I was 20 years old. I had no money.
That's right.
Play the penny slots, too. Conforto hooks one down the line, foul. And it's 1-2.
What is your game of choice, Gary?
Blackjack.
Blackjack, you're a blackjack guy, you too?
I like Baccarat. I don't think that's
Baccarat's fun, right?
I like that. I wouldn't know
how to play Baccarat.
Well,
the number's 9. And you can bet on yourself or the house.
I like to roll the bones on the crap table, but you're too crowded.
And it also moves very quickly. Like I feel like I'm throwing my money away, which usually does happen.
That can happen anywhere in the casino.
That's right.
Good stop by Solano, who's now doing the catching. Well, on a day when players have been shuffled like cards on the field, Michael Conforto has played the entire game. Into shallow left, long run in for Johnson, and he gets there, and that's the second out. So 2 out and 2 on, and now Matt Reynolds will bat for the first time. So if Matt Reynolds, who was with the Mets in the World Series last year in Kansas City, and still has not played in a big league game, regular season or postseason, starts the season with the Mets in Kansas City, will he finally get to make his debut?
Maybe there's a pinch hitter.
Well, that's something.
Yeah.
I mean, if he had gotten into a game after Tejada got hurt and he was added to the roster, he would have been the first player in Major League history to get an at-bat in the postseason before
a regular season
debut.
Yeah, he's Moonlight Graham right now.
It had happened, but only as a pinch runner that a player had a debut in the World Series, but never actually getting an at bat.
Do you know who that was? It wasn't Herb Washington, was it?
No, it was somebody else. Herb was Charlie Finley's designated runner.
There you go.
Reynolds takes one to right field, but Dendecker playing so shallow there's no chance for Krause to score. I mean, Dendecker was playing Reynolds like he was a pitcher. He was so shallow.
Goes the other way nicely, and you can see Dendecker way in. 7 runs down.
Well, Keith, you talked about Matt Reynolds in the open. He was your guy that, really had a great spring, strong spring.
Now Johnny Manel bats with the bases loaded and 2 out. Krause at third, Kelly at second, Reynolds at first. McMassett already over 20 pitches for the inning, so that's getting another reliever up. Looks like Jonathan Papelbon is warming up now. There's a call strike, 1-1. And there's Pap, who just brings goodwill and charm wherever he goes. Manel checks his swing. 2-1.
It's funny when you do this job and you for the Mets, how you associate different players with other players. And to me, it's always going to be Jonathan Papelbon and Omir Santos.
Right.
Forever.
Oh. The home run that Santos hit off Papelbon in the 9th inning at Fenway Park. Manel skies one to shallow right. Wynn grabs it, blows it over to the center fielder Taylor, and that retires the side. Mets lead the bases loaded in the 8th. Still 7-0. Florida without a recap of spring training, and what recap of Mets spring training would be complete without the automobile collection of Yoenis Cespedes, from the fancy tricycle to the Lamborghini to the Jeep to the, well, what's this? What's this? Oh, Kelpsy, big guy with the car, like a boss.
You can see how we roll at SNY.
Yes. Surprised it wasn't a smart car.
Guys, it's year 2. I'm not messing around this year.
Very nice.
And I actually I tried to get just a standard car, but they bumped me up to the SUV, the rental place.
Well, what's really nice, Steve, is that it's better than the bicycle they gave you last year, so that's a step up.
You know, I tried to get it tricked out like Cespedes had all of his, but they didn't have a color pale enough, they said. So.
This is Mikey De La Cruz in left field and Champ Stewart in center for the Mets as we go to the 9th. Jerry's Familia is on the pitch.
Keith, do you remember in St. Petersburg when we used to play? You're an older player and had some money by then, but there used to be a company, Rent-A-Wreck was the name of the company.
Sure.
And we used to rent them. It was, you know, like $5 a day, and it was the worst cars you've ever seen.
Oh, that ball too tall for Campbell. Taylor takes the turn at first, and he'll go on to second with a bouncing ball double.
Fields are hard. Been a lot of rain.
That's the 10th hit for the Nats today. 3 of them have left the ballpark, accounting for all 7 runs. Zimmerman, Worth, and Drew have all gone deep.
Certainly not worried, but it has not been a flawless camp for Jay Reese Familia.
Well, you know, his season, fairly or not, ended with 3 blown saves in the World Series. Really only the first one was on him. The others were, you know, he was put in untenable situations by his defense. But you wonder whether that wears on a young pitcher in his first year as a closer, that's how his season ended.
Yeah, you can eliminate that right off the bat by saving one of those 2 games in Kansas City. But I think even more importantly, what happened to him last year is unique. He was not going to be the closer and got the job by default, of course, when Mejia tested positive.
All right.
Kelly feels the ground ball, and that's the first out.
So sometimes when you get it like that, you don't have time to think about it and to process it. All you do is do it. And he's had a whole winter to think about it and come into the season as the heir apparent. Not heir apparent. He's the man. And it's interesting. I think it's just a different kind of mental dynamic.
Well, certainly the Mets are counting on him to be as efficient as he was all through the regular season last year. And he was superb. Infield comes in now. Matt Dendecker at the plate. And this is just simply a matter of working on situational baseball. Runner at third, 1 out. Normally in a spring training game, he wouldn't bother bringing the infield in.
Well, that one outing he had where he got roughed up a couple outings ago, he didn't have his sinker, and that's what I look for with Familia. And if I have any concerns is if he loses his sinker, if his sinker flattens out like that.
Yeah, that ball's running as opposed to the good downward movement.
Behind 2-0 on Dendecker. And now 3-0. And he's also not getting the velocity numbers he was getting last year.
I mean, mechanically, and you know, I'm sure Dan Worthen and others know, he's rushing. His arm is late.
He's recoiling too.
Yeah.
It's like he's.
And he walks Dendecker on 4 pitches, and now runners are on the corners with 1 out. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night. The Orange get ready for the Final Four on Saturday. Everything new at Citi Field, including the fried cheesecake on a stick.
Come on.
Oh, no, I'm not kidding.
That can't be right.
It's fried cheesecake on a stick.
How do you do that?
I don't get it.
10:30 tonight, Geico Sports Night, SNY, all the delicacies. They got the new Coca-Cola sign up in right field.
Well, they're nice enough to usually send some of that stuff up so we'll be able to have a taste test in the booth.
What did I see? The Rayo's sandwich with the short rib, the Pizziola sandwich with the short rib.
I bet you that's delicious.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, right from day one, Citi Field was a gourmet's delight, and it's only gotten better.
I was more of a lemon chicken at Rayo's guy. What was your order when you went to Rayo's?
I haven't been there in so long,
Yeah.
I've forgotten. I'd go there with Gene Orza, the former our baseball player union lead counsel, head counsel.
Well, Rusty has a table there, right?
I think Rusty, well, he knew them, but Gene was the one that had it. Big Gene.
7 straight out of the strike zone now for Familia. So he is really struggling. Clint Robinson has popped up and walked today. And back-to-back 4-pitch walks to load the bases. Now, normally, this would be where Dan Worthen would pop out of the dugout and go out for a little counsel.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's trying to let Familia figure it out on his own, because it's pretty obvious what he's doing. And if it happens during the year, we'll talk more about it. But when you rush, your arm is late. If you don't get your arm in front of you, then the ball you're going to miss up in the strike zone. And that's not good for him, who lives in the bottom part of the strike zone when he's right.
Now Trey Turner with the bases loaded and 1 out. And there is finally a strike. Turner's 0 for 2, grounded out both at bats. Familia could use another ground ball, and he bounces the slider, and a nice job by Manel to stop at 1-1.
Wow, this is tough. These sliders in the dirt on the catcher, and Monell, perfect form.
Yep.
Keep that ball from going too far away.
They got a couple of ground balls to start the inning. One of them bounced over Campbell for a double, but then the back-to-back walks. And another stop by Monell. 2-1.
He's all over the. He's not even close. He's going to have to come in with a heater here, and he's been fairly straight and up.
You can see the exasperation on his face. And now 3-1 to Turner. You have to figure Familia's going to get an outing in Vegas to try and sharpen up before getting to opening night.
That'll get your pitching coach a little concerned now.
Well, better get somebody else up. You don't want him to throw too many pitches in this inning.
This happened in his last outing where you were thinking that they had to get someone else up.
3-1 to Turner. And there's a strike. 3-2.
Good one.
This is where you're hoping. Throw that good sinker. Have him hit it right back at you.
It's your best chance against Turner. He'd be hard to double up any other way.
That's right.
With his speed. Bases loaded, 1 out. 3-2 to Trey Turner. And he just got a piece. It's the best one he's thrown.
Well, all sinker ball guys, and he's not a true sinker ball guy, but his life is moving down in the strike zone, and the only way it's effective is if you start it on the knees. That's where he needs to be. So whenever he's down, you can see the movement not only is sharp, but it's late. Interesting time to go out to talk to your pitcher. 3-2, bases loaded, 1 out.
Struggling pitcher.
Oh, I can see what happened. Monell hurt his hand, so he needed a couple of minutes to shake it off.
Off the glove hand. Again, the 3-2. Chopper foul. So 20 pitches in the inning from Familia, and still nobody moving in that bullpen. So now they're going on faith that Jerry's can get out of this in the next 4 or 5 pitches. Eighth pitch of the at bat coming, and Turner grounds it to third, right under the glove of Campbell. That'll bring in 2 runs. Taylor and Dendecker score to make it 9-0 Washington. I don't know what Campbell's intent was going to be. Had he fielded that ball, whether he was going to come home with it, but he just let it go under his glove.
No lateral movement there to get in front of the ball.
Well, Gary, you brought, I think that's exactly what happened, is that Campbell didn't know what he was going to do with the ball, so he didn't catch it first. He was thinking, should I go home? Should I tag third?
So it's an error on Campbell, bringing in a pair. Still only 1 out, 2 aboard. And Reed Johnson up for the 3rd time. He's already been on base twice, hit by a pitch and single. Par for the course for Johnson against the Mets. Drills that foul into the tiki bar.
What if our goals was to get you at the tiki bar, Keith, during the spring training? We never got you down there, right?
No. I declined because I put on the 15 pounds. I went to California. I couldn't go down there.
I don't really understand the rationale there.
Well, if I snuck a beer or something. I'm trying to lose weight.
I was thinking maybe the exercise would do you some good. Slider off the plate, 1-1 to Johnson.
So Jerry Reed's trying to figure out how to. We haven't seen one slider, I think, for a strike yet.
And now we're going to get somebody up in the Mets bullpen with Familia up to 23 pitches and still only 1 out. It's like Bastardo's going to start loosening up. Well, the way the Grapefruit League has gone for the Mets, I think they're going to have the motto, what happens in Florida stays in Florida.
I like it. Very good. They'll do their own version of the Cactus League in Las Vegas.
They'll start from scratch tomorrow. Toward the hole, and a base hit for Johnson. Robinson around third. The throw to the plate is cut off, and it's 10-0 Nets. And Reed Johnson, regular season, exhibition season, continues to scorch the Mets.
Let's see if we get any sink here. Straight and up, and that's concerning.
Well, this is where the pitching coaches make their bacon, because you know it's great when your pitchers are styling and they're striking out guys, whatever, but every pitcher at some point loses his way, and that's where Danny Worthing comes in and corrects whatever's going wrong.
Well, this is interesting. The Nats are setting up one of their starting pitchers, Joe Ross, to pinch hit. I wonder whether they're going to ask him to bunt, just to work on bunting. I mean, I don't know why you would do this in this spot unless he's out of players.
Well, I know Joe Ross's older brother, Tyson Ross, is a really good hitting pitcher. Let's see if he is. Maybe bunt. You can't bunt in the game. 10-0, right?
Well, it is an exhibition game.
Yeah, still.
He's swinging.
So I would imagine this has got to be because Dusty's just out of players.
Yeah.
Got the wristbands, got the toothpick.
Styling.
He's Dusty.
Yeah, exactly.
One of a kind. I mean, has there ever been another manager who wore wristbands? I never recall another.
No.
And these happen to have his picture on them.
Well, personalized.
Yes.
Come on.
Probably got a little endorsement deal. Having worn those his entire managerial career. One and two to Joe Ross with Stephen Drew on deck. Now Bastardo getting steamed in the bullpen now. And as Familia approaches 30 pitches in this inning.
He's getting more of a workout than Harvey got in the 2 innings.
Ross strikes out, and that's the second out. So now 2 away, and here's Drew, who hit a 2-run homer against Zach Thornton in the 6th inning. He flied out in his second at bat. The Nationals 10 runs, 11 hits. The Mets no runs and 8 hits.
It's interesting, after that last pitch, Jay Reese shook his head like, yeah, that was it. Maybe it clicked. The ball was down and had good sink.
Drew pulls one down to Kraus. Familia covering, and he dropped it. And that'll bring in a run as Turner comes in to score, and it's 11-0. When it goes wrong, it really goes wrong, doesn't it?
Gee, the first baseman's got to throw that ball to second base, doesn't he?
Yes. Get the force out.
And all his momentum's going to second.
Hey, it was a perfect feed, though. So,
although,
I mean, Familia's got to make that play.
So it'll be an E1 on the drop at first base, bringing in the 4th run of the inning. And Familia will exit after 31 ill-fated pitches. Bastardo coming in. We'll be right back. Well, it's been all Nats this afternoon. 4 runs home against J-Reach Familia in the 9th, forcing Antonio Bastardo into the game.
Well, great numbers last year. The key for Antonio to have a strong year this year is his control. He tends to walk too many hitters, but I know Dan Wharton's been working with him to shore up that control.
Jonathan Solano up for the second time. 2 errors in the inning, 1 on Campbell and 1 on Familia, opening the door on a 4-run inning. A couple of walks, a couple of hits, and 31 pitches for Familia, unable to get through the 9th inning.
Well, like we said,
that one gets the home plate umpire.
A little concerned with the Familia that he hasn't got his sinker. He was up. His command was not very good at all.
Two on and 2 out. And that's up the middle and a base hit. That'll bring Johnson around third. And Stewart's throw is cut off. The 5th run of the inning makes it 12-0 Washington.
Fastball, belt high up, straight as a string. And the beat goes on.
It's a little offbeat for the Mets.
That's kilter.
Now Michael Taylor up for the 4th time, 2nd time in this inning. He led off the inning by bouncing one behind the bag at third that bounced over Campbell's glove for a double. And that set the wheels in motion on what has been an ugly inning for the Mets, and particularly for Familia. You know, we were talking yesterday about how the Mets have been losing games, but they haven't been losing ugly games. They haven't been playing poorly. Well, today is a day they've played poorly.
They've made 3 errors today.
One of those games that you feel as though you might have one foot on the bus to the airport. I've been there, done it.
Well, let me reiterate what I asked you yesterday. Yeah. Is there cause for concern here? I mean, this would be 13 straight games without a win to finish out the Grapefruit League. Does it matter?
You don't want to end on a sour note, but you got 2 games in Vegas, and I tell you what, if they win 2 against the Cubs in Las Vegas, and everybody will be forgetting about this.
Yeah, the I don't know if it's a key, but you know, this sport is not one of those sports where you can just switch it on and off. You build up to opening day, and I think it's hard to just say, you know what, we're going to play hard today. You got to just build up to that.
And Bastardo finally puts an end to the inning. The Nats tack on 5 and lead at 12-0.
Before the Cadillac AT
Well, Sunday night, the Mets open the season in Kansas City. ESPN has the game, but we'll be there on the field to participate in Mets' first pitch, presented by Cadillac, starting at 7:30 on Sunday night.
Well, what's great is that they're going to have us do our hit as Jonathan Papelbon tries to protect his 12-run lead. We're going to do our hits, but we're going to try to do them early so we can jump in the car, get back to the hotel, and watch the game.
Hint, hint, hint.
Danny Muno pitch hitting, pulls one foul. You mean they're not going to let us sit in the ballpark and watch the game?
Again.
And then we get the full treatment on Tuesday, our first telecast of the season. It's a 4 o'clock game. Our coverage begins at 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. That's 6 days from now.
The full Monty.
We get the Rodney Dangerfield game.
Now it's the Noah Syndergaard game.
Yes.
Used to be the Ron Darling game.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
Always suing Rodney.
Right.
I get no respect the second game.
Papelbon, the 9th Washington pitcher of the day. Has it been a 9-pitcher shutout? 2-2 to Muno.
Well, if you really look at the Mets with the spring, they really haven't hit and scored runs.
Gary was mentioning before the big disparity between the Nationals and the Mets as far as power, home runs this spring.
Well, coming into the day, the Nats were averaging 6.5 runs per game, and the Mets were averaging less than 4.5. It's so hard to look at those numbers, though, and derive any conclusions because so many games are decided through most of spring training in the late innings by players who are not going to be in the major leagues once the season starts.
Well, you know, we were talking about Keith was expounding on, I think, some really good reasons why the Nationals, you know, new manager, you know, trying to play with a lot of energy in spring training, get off to a quick start. Also, they had a lot of guys, you mentioned, Gary, hurt last year. So coming to spring training, trying to get themselves in playing position, you know.
Well, there's every reason to think that the Nats are going to be much more competitive than they were last year for all those reasons. And that's regardless of the spring training numbers as Papelbon strikes out Muno for the first down. So one away, now Travis Tyrone, who had a base hit and is only at bat in the 7th. Keith and Tostitos in the 9th inning, if you were wondering what that sound was.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, we're 1,500 miles away from the fried cheesecake on a stick, so you got to go somewhere.
I hit a wall. I had to get something.
One and 2 to Tyrone.
Well, there's a lot of Washington Nationals that have started this game that are already showered up and ready to get on that bus.
Nats are heading to D.C. The Mets are heading to Vegas. Everybody's leaving town.
That's right.
Good time Charlie's got the blues.
I always liked that song.
Tyrone smacks one to deep left field. Back goes Johnson, takes a look, and it's out of here. Off the scoreboard, Travis Tyrone gets the Mets on the board in the 9th. Second home run of the spring for Tyrone, who continues to impress with the bat.
Fastball, 12-0. Boom, crush.
Well, everything else may be going wrong this spring in Florida, but Travis Tyrone continues to build his resume. 25 home runs last year at Vegas. Second home run this spring. Hitting well over 300. Eric Campbell up for the third time. And Papelbon behind him 2-0.
It's at 11 RBI now in spring training. It's a big number. That's what you're seeing from Papelbon that you didn't see early in his career. He was just all fastball, split fingers.
Yep.
He will occasionally throw that slider in there now.
He's not throwing as hard as he used to.
Yeah.
Here's a breaking story of interest. The case against Jose Reyes is going to be dropped. The domestic abuse case that their baseball's been waiting for, that was supposed to be adjudicated, I think, next week. Apparently the case is going to be dropped. So then it'll be interesting to see what baseball does. I mean, it's a little blooper towards short, and the catch made by Drew for the second out. I mean, without any kind of conviction, they suspended Aroldis Chapman.
That's right.
So it'll be interesting to see how they handle Reyes.
I think there'll be some kind of suspension, absolutely.
What's been fascinating with the Rockies in the wake of that is that a rookie named Trevor Story has had one of the best springs of anybody and has won the shortstop job there quite unexpectedly.
Well, Jose made it pretty plain he didn't want to come back to Colorado.
Right now he's got no choice.
Yes.
So it's going to bear watching over the next days to see exactly how that gets adjudicated.
I don't know. If I'm a everyday player, I'm happy to be in Colorado, right?
Champ Stewart takes a strike, and the Mets are down to their final strike of the afternoon. Now the 1-2. And that'll do it. Papelbon strikes out Stewart, and the Grapefruit League season comes to a lackluster finish for the Mets as they go 13 straight games at the end of their Florida tour without a victory. 12-1 the final this afternoon.
Boy, 19-4 for the Nationals now in their spring training. They're going home to play the Twins. Mets are going to Las Vegas.
Mets finished 7-16-5 in the Florida portion of spring training. Two more coming in Vegas the next 2 days. There's your game summary. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Ram Truck Month, going on now. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. And by Drake's Cakes, who reminds you that Drake's Yankee Doodles are back. So listen to your craving and grab some today. If only Keith had had those handy this afternoon. Final score: the Nationals 12 and the Mets 1. On Sunday, the Mets open their season in Kansas City, and we will have pregame coverage starting at 7:30. Cadillac first pitch right here on SNY. Then Tuesday, our first regular season telecast with Noah Syndergaard on the mound. The Mets and Royals coverage starting at 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen in Port St. Lucie. We'll see you Sunday from Kansas City.